Let's go live to the Nationals leader, David Littleproud. Now, David, great to see you. It's really hard to follow what's happening on with Barnaby Joyce at the moment. So can you give us an update? Have you spoken to him? Is he still a nat?
Oh, well, he hasn't resigned from the National Party. The ball's in his court. If he wants to be part of the party room, nothing's changed. What has changed is he's made it very clear that he won't be recontesting the next election for the seat in New England, and so we'll go about pre-selecting a new candidate. But it's up to him in terms of where he wants to go next. We've made it very clear he's welcome. We're going to have some policy discussions that I thought he would probably want to be part of in the near future. So it's a decision for Barnaby. The ball's in his court. But as far as the National Party is concerned, he's still a member. He's still welcome. And we're going to continue to get on and with the job of holding the government to account, and he's welcome to be part of that at any time.
But you haven't spoken to him?
Oh yeah, we've had a discussion, yeah, definitely, but I'm not going to go into the details of those discussions.
Oh, right.
But
I was just wondering if he'd given you the courtesy of giving you a call before we saw it in the newspapers on the weekend.
Oh, look, we've had a discussion around what was in the papers, and he's made his position pretty clear and subsequent about what it's been consistent with what he's put in his letter to his electorate about why he's not recontesting in the seat in New England. We respect that. Wanted to reinforce that he's welcome within the party room to continue to participate because it's not about an individual in our party, it's about the collective. And that's what we make it in the National Party. That's our culture, and that's what it'll continue to be.
Why would you put up with him in the National Party at the moment? He's already said he's not going to recontest at the next election. He says the relationship with you is non-existent and not repairable, and he's flirting with One Nation. Why does he deserve to sit in the National Party room?
Well, until he states he's not a member of the National Party and resigns from the National Party, he's an elected National Party member. He wants time to think about his future. I'm going to create an environment.
But how can you have someone in your party room discussing really sensitive topics and having all-out debate when you clearly don't trust him?
No, I think that's an assertion you're making. I'm not saying I don't trust Barnaby Joyce. I've never said that. What I'm saying is that I'm going to create an environment for him to decide his future, but the National Party will continue on its pathway. We've got policy discussions that we'll take. We'll do that as a collective, and the decisions will be by the collective and not for an individual. It'll be for good policy settings. That's what we'll do, and that's what we'll calmly and methodically continue on with. The offer is there. If Barnaby Joyce wants to be part of that, he can.
David, why are you giving him such a long lead?
Well, the reality is he's still a member of the National Party, and I don't intend to get caught up in a melodrama. I'm simply going to get on with the job, make sure the boundaries are clear, and let him be aware that if he wants to be part of the party room while he's still a member of the National Party, he was elected as a National Party Member of Parliament. He's more than welcome to participate like everybody else that's in that party room. So, but that's a decision. Outside that, I'm focused on what Anthony Albanese is doing to this country and what we can do in formulating good policy to rectify it.
Why do you want him there, though? Why do you want him there if he clearly doesn't want to be there? I mean, if he spoke to Pauline Hanson last night. He's speaking to Pauline Hanson more than he's speaking to you.
Well, that's a decision for Barnaby Joyce.
I know, but you're the leader, David. How can you lead a party with someone sitting in the Nationals party room like that who's clearly working against you? Do you have no power to kick him out? Would you want to kick him out?
No, he's a member of the National Party. Until he resigns as the member of the National Party, he's treated as a member of the National Party. Okay. We don't have special classes of membership in the National Party. You're entitled to come and to participate. You're encouraged to participate. Now, Barnaby's made it clear to his electorate he's not going to recontest. He wants some time to think about what his next move is. My job as leader is not to create an atmosphere where we're talking constantly about this, but to say, look, you're welcome back. You go and sort yourself out. We're going to get on with the job of what we're doing. When you're ready, we'll still be there. That's leadership. That's about saying to the people that voted for the National Party that there's someone there.
Do you prescribe to the view that he is probably better inside the tent than outside it for you personally and for the Nationals?
Well, I think this is about the National Party. I would prefer to see every member that's been elected as a National Party member in the party room, what they were elected to do. I think the people of Australia get pretty upset when they go and elect people and then they go off to other political parties. The reality is that's what I want to happen for the National Party. My job's to make sure that we continue as a team to work as we did in the last term and had great electoral results considering where our coalition partners went to. We've been a very stable force. And so my job is just to get on and to continue on that pathway.
Yep, and it's made pretty difficult with Barnaby doing this. Once again, it's a distraction. Every week I talk to you, there seems to be another distraction. But, I mean, he's talked about an irreparable personal relationship with you. I think viewers and your members deserve to know what has gone on there. What is your view of that and why? Well,
it's disappointing, but unfortunately that comes with the job of being leader because you've got to make decisions, and some of those decisions don't necessarily mean that those that are in your party room get everything they want. And I was very supportive after I was elected in 2022 in beating Barnaby for the leadership. I kept him in the shadow cabinet and supported him through some pretty tough times during that term. And when we got after the 25 election, that it was time to continually renew the party and to give others an opportunity. I've got a great front bench that's performing well and beyond the odds of everyone else. So I've got to create the environment of a future party as well and give other people a go. And so I've been very clear. Now that obviously comes with disappointment, and I get that, and I understand that. I've had disappointments too, but that's the challenge of leadership, is that sometimes you've got to make those hard decisions about the party and the future of the party and what's going to make it stronger. I've been prepared to make those, whether they be about positions in shadow ministries right through to whether we're in a coalition. But I do that as a collective in the room and making sure that we, as a policy, give everybody the opportunity, no matter your status within the party room. Everyone has a voice to be able to bring their ideas forward.
So is this all just because you won't give him a front bench position?
Well, I mean, seen from the commentary, and I've got to say, Barnaby was part of the election campaign in 2025. There's always been a structured process, even since I was a backbencher, first elected as a backbencher, around elections, around where shadow ministers go, because you've got to coordinate to make sure the message is out in particular electorates. So nothing's changed in that. In fact, I think from memory, there's a number of requests that were sent during the campaign wanting Barnaby to go and campaign in particular electorates. So, look, obviously, I'm not getting into the weeds of it. My hand's always out, my phone's always on, and my door's always open, and the party room's door's open when Barnaby reconciles what he wants to do.
So what is it with Barnaby? You just don't have a relationship at all, as he said? Do you exchange angry words and insults, or is it just, radio silence between the two of you and there's no relationship?
Well, I've got to say, I think it's very professional. It's like every profession. We don't go around to everyone's house every night and we're best mates with any of the colleagues.
But Barnaby's saying,
I think we've got an unrealistic realisation of what happens.
He's likened you and him to a divorced couple, irreparable. How are we to read that? There's animosity, it's just silence, it's unproductive.
I have no animosity.
Do you ignore him? Does he ignore you?
I have no animosity to anybody.
Okay.
I'm an open book, and what I try to do is create an environment in the party room where everyone gets a say. I don't need to live in everyone's pocket.
No.
I like to get home and be with my wife and family, as I think most of us do down there. We don't live these lives where we're intertwined with one another. It's a very professional relationship, and that's what it should be. And that's where we get the best out of everybody, and that's the environment I've tried to create. And that's what I think our party room's been more settled probably in the last 3 years than what it's been in the last decade. I think everyone's been getting on and trying to enjoy our company when we're there. And that we try to create that environment with some drinks every now and then, but mostly we keep to ourselves.
Okay, fair enough. But Barnaby Joyce feels like he's been shelved. He's got more to give in politics. You've got him on the backbench. He doesn't want to be there. So instead, he's cozying up to One Nation. How is that not undermining of your leadership?
Well, that's a decision he has to make. You have to accept the decision of the leader and who's in the shadow cabinet. You can still make a contribution. You don't have to be in the shadow ministry to make a contribution in the National Party.
I agree with you, but he doesn't see it that way. So while he remains there, because you've clearly made it clear this morning that you're not going to move to kick Barnaby Joyce out of the Nationals. If he wants to stay there, he will, but he's not going to contest the seat of New England at the next election for the Nationals. That is clear. But as he sits there for the next 2.5 years, you'll always be looking over your shoulder, won't you?
No, I've always been pretty relaxed about my leadership. I'll put my record on the table against anybody's. I mean, I was the leader that took the first political party to say no to the Voice. I was the first leader of the National Party that's talked about nuclear energy being part of our grid, that's actually got it as part of our coalition policy. Around divestiture policies that many for decades have talked about in the National Party, I've delivered. I'm prepared to take on the discussions, and when the moment came about regional Australia being left behind on many of these issues, we walked away. I've had the courage. So I'm really relaxed. I just focus on my job in bringing the collective together and focusing on the Australian people. And the rest looks after itself. If you're always worried about yourself, then invariably you're forgetting what you're there for, which is the Australian people. And I'm pretty relaxed in the legacy that I've created for my time in the National Party. Whenever that ends, it ends. But I'll still be a member of the Nats till the day I die. I bleed green and gold till the day I die.
This all comes down to net zero. You've got a review underway. It looks like the Nats are moving to scrap commitment to net zero, no matter what the Libs do anyway. This all seems weird timing from Barnaby, if that's really what he wants to achieve. Do you think you can convince him, or do you want to convince him to come back, stay as a Nat, contest the next election in New England? And can you do that with a net zero, scrapping a net zero platform?
Well, let me make it clear. Any policy settings that our party room gets to is not predicated on an individual or the future of an individual. It's predicated on good policy. And the collective of the room will determine that. It's not determined for any other reason other than it's good policy. And that's why we will determine when we've agreed to a process unanimously within our party room to explore the net zero fiasco that Anthony Albanese and Chris Bowen are putting us through, but not just become a protest party and say no. I mean, that's the easy thing to do. If you want to be a party of government, you've actually got to say why not, but also how do you actually run the country. And that's got to have a basis of fact and robust policy behind it. And I get it's taken time, and it would have been easy for us to shout from the rooftops one way or another, but we're going to take our time and get it right, like we did with the Voice, because then that makes your case to prosecute a lot easier, rather than just being a protest party yelling from outside the room. We've got to be in the room. But we haven't settled that position entirely. We're waiting on the process to be complete, one that we all agreed to, that I've supported and made sure that they've been able to achieve. And once they do, we'll get to a determination, and then we'll work with our coalition partners to try and get to a position. That's good policy. That's good politics in the long run.
I mean, do you consult with Barnaby on that? Because he's the one that signed up to net zero when he was Deputy Prime Minister to Scott Morrison.
We consult with everybody, and we've had a very open process.
I mean, but he might have a pretty good idea, given he's signed up to it, he might have a pretty good idea how to untangle from it if that's what he wants.
Well, everyone's had the opportunity. See, you got to understand, Laura, no one in the National Party has a higher status than anyone else. When you walk into that room, we're all equal. That's our culture. We're a bit different to the other parties. So everyone has that opportunity, but you've got to grasp that opportunity. You've got to be the one that takes it, and that's what the environment we've created. And everyone's had that opportunity, but there's also been a lot of external work that's been done as well, because we want to make sure that it's not just drawing on our collective wisdom, but drawing on world experience and what actually is happening around the world and what we can do to have Australia best positioned into the future.
Well, just finally, if Barnaby Joyce is talking to Pauline Hanson, the leader of One Nation, more than he's talking to you, are you worried about him undermining some of those private conversations had in the Nationals party room? What would you say to him this morning if he was going to I guess, give away any secrets to an opposition party?
I don't think you would ever see Barnaby Joyce do that. I mean, I don't think he's that sort of bloke. So I just think that's a hypothetical that will never come to pass. But obviously, I've got great confidence that whatever's said in our room pretty well will stay. I don't think it's shared with other political parties, and those that do invariably get found out and leave. And I haven't found anyone yet since I've been in Parliament that's been doing that.
Okay. Have we missed anything, David?
No, you've been very forensic as usual, Laura.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Is there anything else? Anything else? Are you going to try and keep him in the tent before the next election? No.
Well, we've made it clear that the offer's there, but we've got to focus on the policies that we're formulating.
How long was the phone call with Barnaby Joyce over the weekend? I just want to compare it because he said he spoke to Pauline for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the titillations of conversations. We've just talked about respecting conversations, Laura. I'm not going to let in the next 20 seconds break that. Yeah, as good a journalist as you are.
Look, you're always very generous with your time. You're very relaxed this morning, more so than usual. Great to talk to you, David. Thanks for being so open.
Thanks for having me.